Welcome to DCxPC Live Presents Scene Support, the podcast that spotlights the people behind the scenes who keep DIY and underground music alive, from the bookers and the sound techs to the zine writers and the publicists. We're here to give credit where it's long overdue. I'm your host, Scott Pasch, founder of DCxPC Live, a DIY label putting out short-run vinyl of live punk, hardcore, ska, and metal shows. After decades in bands and behind the scenes, I know the work it takes to keep a scene going, and today's guest is one of those people doing that work day in and day out. Today, I'm talking with Caroline Borolla, the founder of Clarion Call Media, a PR and marketing company representing some of the most exciting names in punk alternative independent music. With a background in journalism and years of experience amplifying underground voices, Caroline's work bridges the gap between artists and audiences, getting great music heard without compromising the DIY ethics that built these scenes in the first place. She's been helping me on the DCxPC Live Volume 42 Celebration Summer Wolfface campaign, and she's absolutely crushed it, bringing professionalism, passion, and a deep understanding of how to connect authentic music with real fans. I wanted to bring her on to talk about what she does, how she does it, and why independent media still matters in 2025. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did. Yeah.
I should have asked that first, and I should have also verified
That's
your pronoun, and I apologize. Sometimes I'm smarter on these things. You would think after 15 years of being a teacher, I would know to make sure I know how to pronounce things before I do stuff.
No, you did great.
Thank you. You're very kind. You're very kind. So I know I could talk about what you've done with me so far, but I really like to I'm a former history teacher. I'm going to dig into the past. How did you get to here? What was your musical relationship epiphany that sparked you to love music and then led you on the road to doing what you do and how you do it and all that? I know it's a broad question. Start wherever you choose.
I mean, it's, I think it's like a lot of us. It's like, my parents were hippies and there was always music in our household, all the time, records, tons and tons of records. Like my dad wore his records out, and my mom, they were like diehard music fans. So there's always something, and it was always something like odd. Like it wasn't like the traditional, they loved a lot of like the 60s and 70s.
Sure, there was Frank Zappa playing in the background. Here, play with some Mercury. Listen to Frank Zappa.
Totally, but then there was always some weird, I don't know, weird hippie stuff that you're just like, what? And my dad, he went to Monterey Pop and slept on someone's porch because he didn't have a place to stay, but he just really wanted to go. And he slept on some lady's porch swing. I don't know. But so there's all these weird stories of my parents going to all these festivals and seeing things. And so it's I just grew up in that household. Music is this really special thing that kind of brought people together. And I listen to weird, my parents are also very big public radio supporters.
NPR all day.
So yeah, and so they were always finding weird things on the radio as when I was a kid. And so
weekend NPR is the weirdest shit.
Totally. And I remember when I grew up in Philadelphia, and there was this weird-ish radio station. There's called WDRE, and they played more punk music than it still radio, so it was commercial, but it was definitely things that you wouldn't hear anywhere else. And so as a 14, 15-year-old, I found Sonic Youth and a bunch of other bands through the radio, which I think is kind of interesting.
It is.
I don't know, somebody would be I heard my first Sonic Youth song on an actual radio station, but I was 14 maybe. I don't know.
You must have been in a big city or something, right? Were you near a city?
It was in Philly. But it was still, it was probably a late night show. I feel like it was 11 o'clock, midnight kind of thing. The overnight shows where they're able to play some weirder things. And I was like, this is so weird and cool. And it kind of just made me kind of go into a rabbit hole of, finding weird scenes and kind of in that place of discovering things outside of your parents and outside of what people really knew. And then in college, I did college radio, and, I went to college in DC. And so in the late 90s, so it's I went to like Fort Reno and saw
We were there at the
Fugazi.
same time. I'm from DC.
Yeah.
I was there like
Oh,
91 to
nice.
2008. So Fairfax,
Dang, yeah.
Virginia, and
Yeah,
DC proper. I went to college at UMBC in Baltimore. My wife went to
oh,
American
nice.
University.
I
Like
went
I
to
grew up
American.
going to shows at the old 930 Club and
Uh-huh.
Black Cat later and the Loft in
Yeah.
Baltimore, Wilson Center, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
How have we not run
Mhm.
into each other?
I mean, probably at some point. I
Probably.
mean,
Yes, it's always
yeah, I mean,
possible.
I started in 98, and so it's like I went to, like, Fort Reno and a bunch of like, I got to see Fugazi and, like, a bunch of
Yeah.
cool shows there that I'm like, "How is this possible?" And through the radio station, like, I remember going to weird shows in, like, College Park where it's like, I don't really
Yeah.
totally know where we are, but okay. But there were definitely people that were, like, finding all these weird shows at the radio station and, it's just
Were you
like
at the University of Maryland radio station? Because I remember they used to have a radio station.
I went to American.
Okay. So you went to the same college as my wife, even.
So funny. Yeah,
So
that's
funny.
wild.
Let's see, when was she there? Like, I'm guessing she was there probably around 98, 2000, maybe. So she was born in 1980.
Yeah,
So yeah, 98
I'm
to like
born in 80.
2002.
I graduated
So
in 2002.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she was in a
Wow.
punk band called Die Cheerleader Die. So
Oh, amazing.
I don't know. Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Like, how crazy. How did we not
That's
know this? This is fabulous.
I know, it's
So
the things you find out.
yeah, but you mentioned
Um,
like the radio station in like College Park. They used to have. I went to a radio station show when I was in high school, and it was like Sepultura, Helmet and Ministry, and it was like this all ages sponsored by the University of Maryland College Park radio station. I was like, "What the fuck is this? How is this happening? This is great."
no, totally. But there was this girl that like she had a lot of friends that went to University of Maryland, and I remember we went to some like crazy show that I was like, "What is this?" Like, I
Yeah,
don't even remember who played, but I just remember just being like, "What are we doing? Like, what?"
that's
But just like
awesome.
finding all these cool music, and you're just like, okay.
That is
Um,
fabulous.
yeah, and then I wrote for the newspaper as well, and I was writing reviews of shows. And then after school, I was freelancing for some music magazine. Like I wrote for CMJ when that was a magazine, like this
Okay.
magazine Rockfile, a few other music magazines, and I did an internship at CMJ when that was actually still magazines.
Yes.
Yeah. Um and then I was like supposed to start as an editorial assistant there when they had two magazines. There was the weekly magazine with college radio charts, and then the monthly, which was more of like a glossy non-industry magazine. And like the week that I was supposed to start, they merged the two magazines into one, and therefore they cut my role that I was supposed to
Uh,
start. And they were like, "Well, you can do something." And I was like, "Okay." They were like, "You can still write reviews or whatever, and we'll pay you to enter college radio charts." And I was just like, "What?" So I did that part time, and then
okay.
I also got an internship at a radio promotion company, and I was also working in a record store. I was like
Okay.
22, like doing
What record
everything.
store?
I worked at the Virgin Mega Store in Union Square.
Oh yeah, I know that store.
Mhm.
Okay.
Wild, wild. I have a friend that worked at the Times Square store, which was also crazy. We were
Okay.
talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so then I was doing this internship at the radio promo company, and they didn't have PR, and they were losing a lot of jobs because there were other companies that offered packages of press and radio at that time. And they were like, "Do you want to start our press department?" And I was like, "If you're giving me a job, I'm 22,
I'll do
23,
anything you want
sure."
me to
I was
do.
like, "I
Yeah.
don't know, but okay." And so
Let's do
there
it.
was there was no PR department. So it was me just, talking to people that I knew, going after things that like worked for me, and knowing things that didn't work for me. Yeah, just picking people's brains a lot. Like I remember there was this one publicist at Vagrant Records that I was friends with at the time,
Yeah.
and I just like picked his brain all the time. Like I was like, "What do you do? How do you do it?"
Yeah.
And like going to bookstores and finding any sort of magazines and like writing people's information down, like finding new writers. And I built everything from scratch. And I worked there for about 4 or 5 years and booked
All
bands
right.
on late night TV. And kind of peaked, and then after that, I moved to LA, and yeah, we started more jobs and stuff. So it's
You
kind
started
of
what?
weird. Other jobs
Other
and
jobs? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like it's really bizarre. Like I just was like, I don't know, and like I mean, one of like the jackpot moments for me is somebody that I know, and I don't think I've ever actually told them that they did this. I was still on a lot of press lists for other publicists at the time, and that I was starting to do PR, and someone I know that I'm actually really good friends with, they sent out like an email blast and didn't BCC everybody. They just CCC'd everybody.
Oh no.
Their blunder. I just reached out to everybody and was like, "Hey, I'm updating my database. Do you want to get my mailings?" And I got like, whatever, their 300 contacts.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, whoops. I don't even know if I expect that person. I'm gonna find out now.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome. Good for you, I suppose.
yeah, I mean, it was just like, wow, this is the jackpot of all jackpots. Like, and they worked at like a pretty big company at the time. And I was like, what? So I got like, their mailing lists at the time. So
Okay. That's
pretty
pretty
awesome.
fascinating. Okay. I have
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
questions because you've
so
gone
fun.
through the world of like where there actually were print, where Maximum Rock and Roll was print, and then it went on online,
Mhm,
and you've been
uh-huh.
doing press, and then you get to all the blogs versus actual print, and
Yes,
like it's
that's true.
hard to get print press, and
Mhm.
it's hard to know
Yeah.
what websites are actually really viable ones, which are ones are like,
Oh,
hey,
really?
pay us $5 and we'll review your song, which $5 doesn't sound like a lot in my mind because I'm like, on one level,
Yeah,
you used
true,
to send
but
someone a tape or a record or a CD, and that's more than $5 just mailing it to them. But
mhm.
then,
Yeah.
they just copy and paste your press release and put it in there and say, your song
Oh,
sounds like it has guitars in it and you scream. And it's like, wow,
that's
that was shit. So how do you navigate figuring out where to go? Does it matter what the band is you're working with? Like you have this broad spectrum of like possible places, and then you like narrow it down based on the bands you're working with.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit, I mean, like you're saying, it's like when I first started, it was like you mailed 100 CDs out to people and,
Yeah.
and like, or more, and it's like, what? Yeah, and there were so many magazines, and now there's what, 10? I don't know if that. It's like, so um, in certain genres of music there are
Yeah.
more magazines than there, it's really interesting, like, in the metal world, like I'm working with a metal band right now, and it definitely feels like the metal world's really interesting because I feel like those people actually think a lot more than indie rock.
Okay.
They draw their own conclusions. Like I've definitely seen the reviews are definitely deeper than like indie rock feels more like regurgitating a press release, but the metal ones were actually really thoughtful, and that was really surprising to me. I don't do a lot of metal, so I was definitely like even listening to podcasts and things like that. Like I actually found myself like listening to everything that came through because it was like always a different perspective. So I
Okay.
thought that was really interesting to me that those fans were actually digging into
I
things.
think
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Like I definitely found that a little bit, of a refreshing change. Yeah, like you're saying, I think that um, there isn't really any like one size fits all for a campaign anymore where it's like before it was like, okay, you package up the CDs, you follow up with this person, this person, this person, and they're gonna, read the bio, they're gonna think
hmm
they're gonna come up with interesting like people would come to you in the past where it's like, I had this idea, and now you're the one that's like, oh
yep.
God, what's my idea? Or what is this about? And it's like I think, finding something that people can gravitate towards or understand or is relatable or what are these songs about, I think is helpful, especially in the indie world where it is so saturated, where maybe some of these other genres, they don't have as many things that stick out. I don't know. So, it's like finding angles or finding a story, which
Yeah.
is like something that I think really helps, especially, and I think it especially helps with a lot of a lot of bands that are just like male, like here's another white boy band. Like,
Hmm.
why should you pay attention to them? Because I think
Yeah.
there are so many of them,
Why is this one
that
any
it,
better than the last one?
yeah. So I think having something like having an interesting bio
Yeah.
like that helps versus like the most boring bio. Let's at least, make it a little bit easier for people to pay like, and I think that's
Yeah.
also
Give
something
it
that
something.
totally, and I think it's also something where it's like bands in the past maybe didn't have to put as much effort into that. And I think it is really interesting right now where it's like mid-level bands, that have gotten like good press, they've gotten, the pitchfork or the stereo gum or whatever, whatever the household name is that they've gotten in the past. I feel like those bands, when they come and put a record out now, they kind of struggle a little bit more than than like a band that's already really established, or than a band that's just starting out and is happy to talk to anybody. I think it's really hard for those bands in the middle because they're expecting a lot of these things that they're not going to get, either because it's like such a saturated market, or if they're a writer that was a huge supporter, they don't work for them anymore, or just opportunities just don't exist. So those bands are the ones where it's like that's like the hardest project, I think, because you really forces everybody to get creative and everybody to come up with something interesting, because it's like you want to fight back from the editor that's like, we've covered this band 3 times in the last 3 years, why should we do it again? And I
Sure.
understand that. Like, I totally understand that, where it's like, if they aren't the buzzy thing of this moment, they were maybe 3 years ago, but they're not anymore. Why should they care now?
Yep.
And I think those are the hardest records, and those are the ones where it's like a lot of work, but it's also, when it does click, it's actually really super rewarding because everyone really worked together to make it work.
And I feel like that's kind of the tricky thing, right? Like I'm working with you now, but I worked with people in the past and I've actually paid attention to what they did and garnered some of the contacts that they've used just because I pay close enough attention. So I know various people, various online blogs, and I have
Mhm.
my own press list and I send it out personalized. I don't do like a BCC. I'm like, hey, blah, blah. Long time no see.
Totally.
Thank you. I might, and like some people like Lauren from Scene Point Blank always responds to me and he does what he can do. It's all fine, whatever that happens to be. Is very kind. And like
Mhm.
Lisa from New Noise as well, will get back to me.
Mhm.
But then other
Yeah.
people, I'll send like 5 records in a row over the course of 6 months and get nothing. And all of a sudden, the 6th record, I get a response. And I don't know if it's because they just like the record or they have less going on, less company. Like it's hard to know what's effective. And I've even tried to learn how to write press releases by working with people. Like I've seen the one that you've
Totally.
drafted and I've seen other people. I'm like, okay, what fits my style and tells a story. And I've tried to learn from everyone because saving money is good, but I've also found that like spending time and getting nothing is not good, and my time is
Yeah.
valuable.
No, totally. It's like, what's that balance of like, okay, yeah, how do I kind of craft a press release or craft an email blast that feels authentic to who I am, but also, resonates with other people. It's
Yeah,
like it's hard, it's like kind of like what I get through every day, where it's like,
yeah,
okay, you know. And it's like, and it, as much as people are like, the connections, meeting people, and it's great, it's true. But there's also a lot of writers that are in the middle of nowhere, or it's like you don't see them at shows because they aren't making money, so they can't live in
yeah,
LA, they can't live in New York. So it's like you're not gonna see a lot of these people out, and it's like, sure, there are some, but
yeah.
it's like they're
And they
not gonna
move
be there.
around. When I was
Yeah,
in
totally.
DC, my wife and I were in a band called the Twats,
Uh-huh.
and right around the time we broke up in 07, 08, something like that. I forget his name. I just ran into him in Kingston, New York, of all places, a couple months ago. He came down to a show that we did in April. My wife and I had a different band, and he didn't even know we were playing. He was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you all since 2007." And he's a
Wow.
lawyer now, but he really dug us and did a feature on us, like for the Washington City paper or the Washington Post. I forget which one.
Oh, that's
And I'm like,
amazing.
I mean, it was really nice. It was like, nice size. My mom saved it and cut it up and like, your
Yeah,
name's
so
offensive,
nice.
but I really like what they say about you.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like, but how does that even happen? Like, I think he like came to the shows and just really liked us, and we could have sent out 1,000 press releases and never gotten that kind of
Totally.
attention.
Totally. Totally, and that's the thing where it's, like, sometimes something just, like, hits someone where you're like and it's also interesting too when they get it, like, way after the fact, because that's happened to me, where it's like, a band maybe played before the record was
Yeah.
out or right when it came out, and then they came back, like, a year later, and this person's like, "What is this?" And then all of a sudden you see this crazy profile, and they're like, "Couldn't have done that 6 months ago?" Like,
Yep.
like, but
Is so let me step back for a second. So when I started the label, I had to fight my DIY ethic that like you don't
Mhm,
advertise, you don't promote
mhm,
that way. You're just supposed to like be word of
mhm.
mouth. Maybe you send off your
Totally.
record to Maximum Rock and Roll or Punk Planet when Punk Planet
Sure.
was still around, and
Mhm.
you send it off to Amp Magazine or now like Razor Cake. But you don't do anything beyond that. But when I started the label, it's like, okay, I'm not just managing my band now. I'm actually managing, putting out things, and I'm putting money on the line, and people are kind of counting on me to do more. And I tried to take some online classes at places like Indiepreneur and stuff and learn how to do
Mhm,
social media PR, et cetera, et cetera. And
mhm.
I'm doing all this, and it so much feels like spinning my wheels. Like it just feels like this just gets
Totally.
nowhere fast, and I don't know how you're supposed to break through because there's so many bands. And I love getting the great reviews from Maximum Rock and Rollers, Razor Cake, and I mailed them the record, and they generally are
Mhm,
great reviews. But even those take
mhm.
months. Oh, this was my question. I was
Yeah,
rambling, waiting to get my question to come out. Like if I
yeah.
were to send a press release, not because I put out enough records, I couldn't hire you for every record. I'd be broke. How soon do you send, like how far out do you send it out? And should you be focusing, like I do a lot of pre-sales and pre-orders, should I focus on that? And they only care about the release? Like, are there any like 5 top tips if you're going to send a press release? These are 5 things that you should do that like that'll keep you from annoying the person you're sending it to.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something that I can say I personally find kind of annoying. Well, something that generally this all kind of ties into what I think is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So I think, generally, if you're announcing a record, having 2 or 3 singles come out, having an announcement maybe 2 to 3 months ahead of time, that feels like enough lead time. I think anything else, it kind of people have short attention spans. So I think people don't necessarily do that thing that we used to do like 20 years ago, the 4 or 5 months lead. You don't need that because
Yeah.
like majority of the thing is print. If somebody's focused on a deadline, well, it's like you miss out on your cream review or whatever
Yeah.
it is, which is cool. Love cream, but like, they're quarterly or whatever. So it's like it's hard to make those things, It's like um, or like under the radar or whatever. It's, they're quarterly. So it is
Yeah.
a hard thing to make those deadlines. And they also have websites where it's like there's a lot of things that I like. I have something coming out in Cream in December, and I'm excited about it. But they also confirmed that like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Um, so I think 2 to 3 singles. Announce it. Yeah, 2 or 3 months out, depending on if you're
So two
hiring
weeks
somebody.
out is too close. 2 weeks is like, no, you're wasting your time, Scott. No one's gonna respond in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely cutting it. Like
Yeah.
I mean, if you want 6 weeks. mm,
Yep.
I a month, 2 weeks is really challenging. There's just not a lot that can be done, and I think it's just that there are so many things. Like, I think part of it is, like and this kind of goes back to how things change, it's so easy to put out music, like, with things
Yes.
like Bandcamp and, as much as Spotify sucks, people can just put songs up there and it's out, which we didn't really have those, 10, 15 years ago, or it wasn't as easy for
Yeah.
people to just be like, "I'm in a band, I'm gonna put this out without a label, I'm gonna"
Sure.
it's like yeah, like, it's a whole different climate in terms of having things come out, every day, where it's like before it was like
Every
Tuesday,
week,
waiting
release
in line at records.
radar, like it's constant. And even me, I think I put out 15 records this year. And we're in October.
It's a lot.
That's a
It's a
lot of
lot.
records. It's a lot of records. And there's no way that I can like I'm sure we'd be like, dude, you literally sent me 15 emails in the last like 8 months, and you're only giving me like 3 weeks lead time. It's like, well,
Yeah.
because I'm one person behind the gun trying to do everything myself. That's all I
I
can do
mean,
to
I
get the band to give
think
me information.
well, yeah, and I think that's also it too, is like labeled as like chase it, where it's like, I have some labels that I, work with on retainer, and some of them are much better at getting things together than others. And some people are like, yeah, we do have this in a month. What can you do? Or we do have this in 6 weeks. And
Yeah.
it's like, I think it's like managing your expectations, where it's like 6 weeks, it feels like you can still get people to do something. A month, it's like, we're really cutting it close, but we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and it's like making sure that you're aware, like, it's like, and it's also like, there's also like that crapshoot of whatever your release date is. Even if you planned it out for like, 2 or 3 months, it's like Taylor Swift could put a record out on your release day, and it's like everyone's just gonna like forget
Mhm.
whatever the hell else is happening in indie rock,
Sure,
or
sure.
whatever. So it's like you can't really predict that kind of stuff too. So it's like, like that happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and things just kind of got overlooked. And you're just like, "Ugh,"
No, no,
but it's like, yeah,
and that's one of the things like I try and do, my pre-orders on like Tuesday or Wednesdays. If everyone releases everything on Friday,
totally.
and
Yeah,
it's like,
no, it's so smart to not be on a Friday, because it's just like you just got lost in the shuffle of
yeah,
everything's out today.
everything's out today. Of course, people might have like bought everything on Friday when they got paid on Friday, and then they come to Tuesday like I ain't got no money left. Or
Totally.
they don't
No,
have money.
totally.
They're waiting until they get paid on Friday. By the time they do that, they've
They
forgotten
forget.
about the record that you saw on Tuesday, and
Hmm.
it's hard to know how much to
Hmm.
post and how often. If you're a
Yeah.
small DIY label run by one person, what you're doing, what you've accomplished with like Wolf Base and Celebration Summer, so fabulous. So many
Thanks.
great varieties of things you've done. Some
Thanks.
sources I've
Yeah.
known, some new ones. The bands are really
Mhm.
happy. They've never gotten this degree of press.
Mhm. Awesome.
So like I just want you to know, like everyone is
Yeah.
very
Thanks.
pleased.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, it's fun. And like, it's definitely, it is like hitting up different people. Like, I'm stoked they got the Bandcamp mention. Like, that's,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
great.
Yeah. Like, I hope you got some good streams or orders from that, because
Yeah.
like, I had somebody and they were like, we got 1,000 streams in like 3 days. And I was like, what? Like,
Wow.
I'm like a small band. And they're like, that's awesome. Um, and I do think, like, it's cool, like, Bandcamp definitely opens doors for people that wouldn't have been able to do things on their own. And then there's, like, some of the punk sites are doing it, and some of it gets some more straightforward indie rock. Like, I think it's, like, a really good,
Yeah.
like you saying, an eclectic mix of things that,
Yeah.
yeah, and people seem really excited. And, like, the interviews are really good questions, I feel like,
Yes. It's not
which
the
is
same perfunctory
impressive.
questions over and over and over again. And like I
Yeah.
said, like all the things you've shared have seemed authentic. And I
Mhm.
say that because I remember when I first started, I was using someone to help with PR. And I
Mhm.
think it took me 2 campaigns to go, this isn't a real website. They basically created this website so they could post reviews and no one
Right.
actually traffics to this. Like this is
Mhm.
obviously like beyond
Mhm.
garbage. And that was my
Yeah, no,
first
totally.
foray. That was awful. That was like, you're just taking my money to make me feel good. And I don't need to feel good. I actually need people to hear the record.
No, I mean, yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer because I feel like stuff like that, people like hate publicists, and I swear we're decent people.
Oh, I
Um,
believe you.
yeah, but it's like people hate publicists, because we just bother them a lot. And it's like
Oh,
we're also just like doing a job. And I think that, most of us are like real music fans, or we grew up playing music,
yeah.
or, and it's like we wanted to, turn something we love into a career. It's like, and I think it is really hard, because what we do, it's so hard to quantify, where it's like, I really do try and keep people updated. I really do try and do reports. I do try and, send links. I try and, ask
Yeah.
questions. I'm like, how can we make something happen? So it's like, I think people that like, I think I might know who you're talking about with that made up sites. But it's stuff like that that makes it like easy to hate us, because it does
Yeah.
seem like you're just taking people's money, or you're just making things up, and it's like, yeah, and it's hard enough where it's like if you're not a person that communicates what you're
Yeah.
doing, like somebody can be like, why am I paying you? Because yeah, there isn't the stuff that we used to have. So it's like if you're
Yeah.
not constantly sharing links, if you're not constantly like, what's next? I think that it does make it a little easy to hate us. And
Yeah. And it's hard to find that balance. I would say everyone else I've ever worked with, the issue is either A, they were expensive and didn't quite get me as much as I wanted for what I thought I, would have paid for,
totally.
or they were really reasonable and
Hmm.
still didn't get me much. But what can I say when something's reasonably priced and you don't get much? And
Sure.
I'm an honest enough person to know that it's not inherently all just them. It could be my it could be my album. It could be the story of what I've fed them, what I've given them. The content may
Yeah.
not be deserving, right? Like, let's just be honest, everything isn't, a
Oh,
shiny gold
totally.
nugget that people are gonna love. So it's like I book tours for bands, and some tours are easier for some bands than others.
For
And
sure.
and I'm smart enough to know that, so I don't disparage those people and the work that they did. It's only
Yeah,
the
of
ones that
course.
I think were,
Yeah,
basically
totally.
lying. It's the lying. It's or like you ever seen those curating sites where they like have curators and you upload your album as a campaign. And I'll be
Mhm.
honest, I've worked for two myself,
Mm.
but my blog's not really around anymore, but I would spend a significant amount of time reviewing
Mhm.
these and writing real, authentic
Yeah.
things
Mhm.
for not a great deal of money. And the one that I still kind of respect the most is Submit Hub. I mean, I
Yeah.
only get
No,
$1 to $2 to review a
totally. And
song, but it would take me an
yeah,
hour to review the song. And I did a real review, and I met great bands that
you make
way.
like $40. Like,
Yeah. It's like,
I
I
mean, I
mean,
think
that's not money.
it's like I think what Jason's trying to do with Submit Hub is cool, and I think there is something to it. Um, but it's hard. It's like such a hard balance, like
It
where it's
is.
like,
And they
yeah.
do a
I
good
mean, I
job.
think
And
he does.
the problem is, like, there'll be some people on Submit My Hub that are also on the other place that I don't care for. I'm just not going to blast them another place. And they'll charge exponentially more on the other place for the same stuff that I would get for Submit Hub for,
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm on their marketplace and I have to get offers, and I decline them all the time because I'm just way too busy working on my dissertation. I don't have time to give you a review of value. And I'm not going to take your money if I can't do it well. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally. I mean, it's tricky, and it's also like there's also some blogs on there that we used to like pitch, and now it's the only way that they take submissions. And we're like, I get it, but it's also like, man,
Yeah.
like,
Now you've got to
yeah,
pay to submit, which makes
yeah.
you raise the prices on the artists or the labels that you
It's
work
a
with.
little much challenging. It's definitely
Yeah.
like it's like I get it, because a lot of those people, it's not their full-time job, so
Yeah.
it's like I get they want to be compensated in some way, but it is just it's a tricky situation,
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think it's just all part of like the changing, everything, and then changing environment of what we're working with, where it's like, what used to work doesn't work anymore,
Yeah.
where it's like,
And 5 years from now it won't either. So it's gonna constantly grow
exactly,
and change. It's like
exactly.
figuring out the social media algorithm. You think this is working, and all of a sudden it doesn't work.
Hmm.
I've designed video ads for bands where I'm like, oh, this is great. We got like 100,000 views. This is amazing. A month
Yeah.
later, I try and do the same thing and it flops, and I don't understand. Once again, it could just be the song, but it could just
Well,
be,
totally. And I think also kind of going back to what you're saying, like in terms of like publicists, it's like for us, I think we don't necessarily work with things that we don't think we can at least do something. Like for us, it's like, we're a small company. We don't really have a lot of overhead. So
yeah,
it's like we can be like, hey, do this yourself for a while and then come back to
yeah,
us where it's, or we're not the right fit. And it's like, sometimes there are other publicists where I'll be like, maybe this person is a better fit,
yeah,
and for me, it's like, I'd rather be honest at the start versus like feeling like I'm taking somebody's money and then
yeah.
not doing a good job because
I
it's
mean,
like, yeah.
you were referred to me from like Dromedary Records, and Nick
Hmm.
from World
And
Sucks, was a
Savak,
band I
right?
actually managed. So,
Yeah. And
and
Savak was it too, right? No.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
my wife's like, I was like, I wasn't gonna. I was like, oh, I've done PR. I'm just not going to. Yeah. And she's like, no, no, no. I feel good about this one. You should do it. I was like, okay. And
Wow.
you and I
Okay.
sat down, and
Mhm. Okay.
we talked about what releases you thought you could work with. You didn't just say, oh yeah, give me any schlock you have, and I'll
Totally.
take your money.
Totally.
Like, you were really thoughtful about what I had in the wings, and that what was far enough out that you could work with properly. Like, I felt like you were
Mhm.
really being considerate of being able to deliver something. And I felt like if I didn't have anything, you had been like, Scott, maybe later. None of these albums are speaking to me.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think that that's kind of why people come back to us is
Yeah,
because we're honest. At least it's like I try
yeah,
and be. And especially for some, like, there's definitely like some newer bands that come to us and it's like, I want all these things. And it's like, you're not going to get all these things. And it's like, you also need to develop your own like audience before I think, a publicist is not a magician.
yeah,
It's like you the days of like publicists really breaking a band, especially a band that's self-releasing an album, it's those days aren't really
yeah,
here. Like even the bands where it looks like they don't have a team, they have a team.
yeah.
It's like there's money being spent, so it's like play shows, like get something going on in your own community, tour regionally, have something to bring to people before you work with a publicist and before you put money into it. There's a lot that people can do on their own. And I think that there's also this generation of like so much instant gratification too, where it's like they don't always want to put that work in and they think somebody else can just do it for them. And so for me, I'd personally rather be honest because I think it's just going to be a miserable 2 or 3 months because I'm not going to get what you want and we're just going to be butting heads. So, like, let's not do it.
And I think that point about instant gratification is really important because, let's be
Totally.
honest, I only pressed 200 records. And
Okay.
for what it cost me to do that, and what it cost me to hire you, I would have to sell every record and I still probably wouldn't make a profit. But I didn't look at hiring you as a way of making a profit. I looked at hiring you as a way to broaden the audience
Mhm.
for these bands, and also
Totally.
broaden the audience for my record label long term. So I'm not checking my Squarespace website every day to say like, oh, well, we got posted on this blog. I want to see how many people come over to it. I'm not looking at that micro level. I'm thinking more long term, that you were an
For sure.
investment not in profit for this record, but in building a relationship and growing for the next
Hmm.
10 years. I'm not looking at
Yeah.
immediate, give me this now. It's more like, hey, maybe a couple times a year we work with a release and we do something really
Totally.
special. And then that'll help. Rising tide lifts all boats. If people start agreeing with the label, it'll help the other releases too that
For
don't
sure.
get
Yeah.
that same
Hmm.
push, because I can't afford to do that push for every release.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, totally. Totally. I think it's like, you get it. It's like sometimes it's like brand new bands or, a lot of it's like self releasing or things like that or small labels that are just
Yep.
starting out. And they're like, we got to get this. And you're just like, oh man, this is just not. But it's like for me, it's like I would personally, it's just, I don't know. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I got to be honest with people. I don't know what it is. Where it's like, I
I
can't
taught at
just,
a Catholic school for a decade, so seriously, we just
yeah, it's,
we lived in the same world somehow. We just never knew it.
yeah, totally, totally. It's like, what? But it's like, I just feel bad. Like, I can't lie to people like
Yeah,
that and be like, oh, yeah, totally. We got this. It's like, oh, God, it's horrible,
yeah.
And it's also like, for me, it's like I also have to like the music, and it's like if I don't like, there's things where people are like you should totally. I'm like I don't like it. It's
Like
you
it.
know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and that's fine. It's fine, because there's so many people that care about things I
It's
don't care
But
about.
it's the
So
same
go
with being
go
a
ahead and
label or
care.
even being a musician. Like, oh, I could drum for you, but I don't. I like you as people, but I really don't enjoy playing your
Totally,
music. Even if I enjoy listening to it, I don't enjoy playing it. Or I think you're great people, and I think you're a very tight band, but I'm not gonna be able to sell this record because I'm not gonna be able to say anything positive about it. Like,
well,
sincerely
yeah,
positive. I'm not gonna be able to like be at a festival because I do a lot of festivals I go to, and I'm like, this is the record
totally,
you need to buy. And be like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, like,
this one's good. You should, yeah. No, you should.
yeah, and it's
I'll keep
and it's
steering them
like the
away
same
from your
thing.
record.
But it's like the same thing, it's like you're saying, you're like one person, and it's like, Clarion Call, we're 3 or 4 people, and it's like we're not going to really push a lot of things that we just can't 100% get behind because it is a lot of work, and it is a lot. You're talking to these people, you're talking to them every day, and it's like if you don't like it, it's like it's hard and it's just not. And that's part of why we do it is like
Yeah.
we wanted the autonomy and we wanted to just be able to be like, all right, maybe this band does have a really great budget, but it's still just it's not for me.
Not
And
doing it.
you know, yeah. So
So you have a lot of artists on your webpage. Are they
we do, yeah.
are they artists that you actively or or are they ones like we work with them, but they haven't done anything in 2 years, but if they come back in 2 years, how many of them, how many artists are you actively working with on a regular basis versus you're kind of on a
Yeah.
retainer
I
or
mean,
haven't built a relationship?
there's like some on our website. Yeah, like you said, we have a lot. There's some that are just like either clients we've had and we know they're going to come back and do things.
Sure.
There's artists where it's like with Drumdary, where it's like I'm on the retainer, so it's like they're just on there because whatever they do, it's just like Al's just going to be like, here it is. Like,
There you go.
okay.
That's awesome.
So so there's things like that. And there's also things we just forgot to take off the website. Sorry.
It's okay.
I mean,
Nope, I understand. I get it.
we're a small team.
Yeah. It was like 3 of you, I think.
But totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many do you work with in a month yourself? Like in 1 month, how many bands do you work with?
Yeah. Right now I have like 6 or 7 in various stages. Some are just touring, some are wrapping things up, some are getting started. That's generally how I roll.
And do you tend to focus on album releases, or do you also focus on tour promotion, exclusive, or do they always come together?
Sometimes we do tours separately. Sometimes they're separate.
Yeah.
And if we do like just a separate tour, sometimes that's just like an artist that we worked with in the past and they come back and they're like, hey, we're doing a tour, or it's like a word of mouth thing where it's like, hey, you did a good job and my friends are touring. I don't generally get a lot of like random listen to my record and promote my tour, which is a weird thing, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's usually like a friend of a friend that's like they're touring, do you want to help them out? Or it's, an artist that we've worked with in the past. So yeah, so it's like a combination.
Is touring easier or harder? Is it easier to promote a tour, or is it easier to promote an album?
I like tour press because it's not like dangling a carrot over somebody. It's like once the show passed, they're not going to cover it. So it's like versus like, hey, we like this record, but we don't know about space, and you're like, follow up with you in 2-3 weeks,
and you might cover it after the album comes out 3 weeks later, right? Which is still press.
So it's like when there's a tour, it's like, well, you didn't get the preview, you didn't get the preview. So it's kind of nice because it's closed, it's like a, but also it is kind of fun too because, and it's weird, it's like interesting to see what markets do well for press.
Yeah.
Or what markets people do well in playing shows, because it's always something where I'm like, what? Like I've had bands that are like, man, Reno is so cool. And I'm like, Reno?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like all these bands that I've had play Reno in the last year have said it's so tight, and they were like, we're going back. And I'm like, sure. That's always really interesting to me. Yeah, and I think it's like setting up sessions are fun too, where it's like seeing those things kind of happen, or if bands really are ambitious and want to do morning TV, that's always interesting too, to see what the response is to some weird.
Do you get a lot of you work on a lot of local press when you tour? Because I know when I do shows here, I will reach out to Kingston Happenings website. It's Chronogram, it's a local culture and music magazine. They have a website for stuff. There's what else? A couple places I reach out. Kingston DIY, Big Gay Hudson if I've got a queercore show or something like that. But when bands are on tour, I don't know those things, and I don't inherently have a list, and I have friends of mine in a band called Modern Natives. They will like spend on those like nickel ads in like the small
Uh-huh.
papers, and they'll do like a little ad like
Mhm.
this, and they're really
Yeah.
good about calling all the local newspapers
Mhm.
and radio stations, and like they're just really good at that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also like, also in some of those like secondary markets, like people are just excited when bands come, so they want to talk to them, which
Yeah,
is really nice versus like pitching national press because sometimes you're just like, man, it's crickets everywhere. But then this band goes on tour and it's like, oh, cool, you're playing Wichita, you're playing Tulsa, you're playing El Paso, and we've got features everywhere. So like sometimes it feels like tour press can almost like save a campaign where it maybe didn't necessarily do this great on the national side, but it's like everybody's talking to them. So you're like, man, like something is clicking.
sure.
Um, which feels kind of nice. Yeah, I mean, I like doing tour press. I think it's fun.
Yeah,
And I think it's like cool because you also like, especially for bands that are active on socials, like you can really see where, you know, they're doing well, and that's kind of fun too. Or like inviting people out to see a band, and it's like, someone comes back like the next day and they're like, wow, like I finally got to meet this band I've been covering for 3 years. Like that happened to me this last week. Like this band I worked with, they played in New York and they haven't played in New York in a long time. And there's this blogger that has supported like the last like 4 records they put out, and he got to finally meet them. And like he
sure.
hung out with them for like an hour and they were all so happy. They've sent me pictures. Like stuff like that's
That's awesome.
cool because you see like, that they're actually connecting with like writers that have turned into real fans.
Yeah.
So
Like I
that's
wish I had
that's
more time to
cool.
write because that's happened. Like there was a local band called the Snorts, and I did a review for them. I didn't know who they were, and I wound up putting
Yeah.
out their record. Or Burning Hag from Philly. I loved them
Mhm.
so much. I just brought them up for a 3-day run through the Hudson Valley, just
That's
because we
amazing.
connected through a review of a song that I did. So like
Mhm.
I found value in doing that. It's just there's just limited amounts of
Totally.
time. So um
Totally.
and that's the hidden value that you can't put on things, right? Like you don't know. It's almost like when you play to a show to 5 people. Like I did that
Mhm.
once in Baltimore, and I met someone who helped us go on tour to Europe. So it
Yeah.
looked like a piss ass show, but it wasn't a piss ass show.
Right. But it's yes. Like I mean, I think it's like even when you have those shows where it's like 10 people are there, it's like those people really want to be there. Like, and like who knows
Oh,
who they'll
you're
tell,
freezing for a second
and
here. Hold on,
uh-oh.
my internet is being problematic.
Oh, is that me?
I think someone's probably
Uh-oh.
using the microwave in my house again. It messes up my internet. I'm gonna tell my kid to stop cooking food.
Uh,
Anyone using the microwave?
that there we go. Maybe. Yes.
Don't use the microwave.
Working. Uh
Ay, ay,
hmm.
ay.
Oh,
All
no.
right, I'm back. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay. All right, cool.
I think we
Um,
discovered that the microwave
yeah.
affects my Wi-Fi somehow.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. So I think my kid was making a hot pocket.
It's all right. I
How
mean, it's that
dare
time.
they eat? How dare they consume food?
It's kids, right?
Kids, right? So
Mm.
do you mostly work with bands or do you mostly work with labels then? Or is it pretty even Steven?
I mean, I have like 3 retainers with labels, and then the rest are bands, and we do some festivals as well.
Okay.
So,
Ooh, do
yeah.
you do like write-ups? Do you trying to think. So like do you press for festivals? So like which festivals do you do press for?
Clarion Call, we did Best Friends Forever, the festival in Vegas, and
Okay.
Kilby Court Block Party. I did the Drum Dairy Festival.
Yes, and
Um,
Catskill.
I did, uh-huh. And then another festival, Seven Stay Nine in DC, which was like it was like pretty experimental, like cool. Like they got a festival right up in the Wire magazine and a few other things
Okay.
like that. Yeah, that was
Rad.
cool. And then my coworker Tito, he works with Dave Haas and he does a festival in Philly.
Okay.
And then my coworker is doing the first year he's doing Corona Capital in Mexico City.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's
That's
some
pretty
cool
rad.
festivals. Yeah, totally. Yes,
I do have my Rally in the Valley Volume 2 coming out in April, so we may have to
Ooh,
talk.
all right, cool. I mean,
I also
I
already,
love doing. Yeah, festivals are
do you
fun.
come out to them?
We try, yeah. If
Yeah.
it's worth, yeah,
If
it's
it's
fun.
worth it, you're like, if it's worth it. And I already know which band I'm going to work with you next, but I can't reveal them yet. And it'll be my second only studio album, and they're from
Ooh.
Philly. So,
Oh, really?
yes.
Nice.
And they're the first band that ever convinced me to do a studio album because I've
Oh,
just been like, no, 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 no. I refuse to
nice.
do it. I refuse to do it. And then they're like, would you help us? I'm like, yes.
You're like,
I mean, it's outside my box too. So it's like, I'm not just swinging, I am like swinging.
I love
So,
that.
so I'm like, I'm
Amazing.
going to do, but it's such good music, and and it has the story, right? You said the story. It's got the story.
I love
It's like,
that.
and the album's just could be phenomenal. So I'm like, okay, you know
Cool.
what?
That's so cool.
5 years I've resisted this. It's time to do
I
it.
mean, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. It's really cool. Nice.
So what tends to attract you personally to like a band? Is it the story, or is it the music first, or does it, like, when someone comes out of nowhere, what's the first thing you do? Do you read or do you listen? It's kind of like I teach
I
graphic
listen.
novels. You listen first,
I
it's the
listen.
music first.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah. Like, even if there's a story and it's like, I don't think it's good. I mean, because that's what people are going to take. It's like people are going to listen. And if it's like, you have such a short time to make a first impression that it's like, if they like the music, they'll dig into the story, but I don't necessarily think the story over the music.
sure.
I don't think people have that in them generally. Maybe there's a few people that do, but I don't I don't know a lot of those people.
Nope. No, that makes sense. Speaking of music, what's the 3 bands you're most stoked on, or 3 artists so that you're stoked on right now that you're like, whether you're working with them or not, it's up to you. You can focus on the ones you work with, but you can also just be like, these are the 3 things that, like, if I told you to listen to something right now, Scott, this is the jam you should listen to.
Huh.
Uh-oh.
Um yeah, no,
It's a
it's
tough one,
so
isn't it? I
hard.
know it is.
It's so hard because like I have work and then I have okay, I really love High Vis.
Okay.
Um I love that band. I was in Canada when they played in LA and I'm so bummed I missed the show.
Oh,
Um I've seen them before, but they're amazing. Um they're so good. They're so good. They're so good live.
I've never seen them live.
Yeah, that's one. I
Yeah.
really like this record. I like the last one a little bit more, but they're still great.
Yeah.
I really I'm like I'm just trying to decide if I want to go clients or if I want to I'm going towards
We can do 3 of each if you want.
who else? I'm going towards
Yeah.
like not client. The next one I'm gonna say is a client, but
There you go.
um, it's I really love the immersion record, which is Colin from Wire and his wife Malka Spiegel. She was in Minimal Compact. It's his
Okay.
electronic record, but it's called What the Fuck. It's called WTF, and
I love it.
it's this really really amazing electronic music, and it's just them just making really interesting sounds and like just talking about what's going on in the world, and it's like electronic but in a punk spirit.
Yep.
And it's a really really cool record, and I think it transcends like genres. I think like people that are very into punk, and it's not just because it's Colin from Wire and Malka.
Sure,
It
sure.
just people just get it, and I'm really stoked on that one, and that just came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're playing some shows in Europe. Maybe they'll come here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then something else that there's stuff that's coming out that I can't really talk about.
Yeah, I get that.
Another artist that I worked with this year, is this band Male. They're from
Okay.
Ireland.
Is it
It's
male as in
N.
through the mail, or is it male as in macho male male?
Neither of those.
No. Which male is it then?
It's N parentheses with the H in the parentheses AOL.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Irish, so
Fine.
um, but they're these like queer feminist punks, and
Awesome.
they're amazing. And this was the second record that I did with them, and they're a band that, they played like 4 shows in the US, and they were really nervous, but the people that came out were super, super stoked. Yeah, I'll send you this record. It's really special. They tackle a lot of like political issues. They talk,
Oh, that sounds amazing. It's like right up
yeah,
my alley.
it's really, really cool. Yeah, like gender issues, like it's a lot. It's heavy. Like there's definitely they also like I did this Zoom call with them like the first time I met them, and my dog walked through and they were like, "Oh, what's your dog's name?" I was like, "Clementine." And they were like, "We have a song named called Clementine." And they were like, "We're hired." And I was like, "Okay."
Yay.
And yeah, and they when they played in LA, I was like, "You have to play Clementine," and they didn't. Um,
Oh,
but they have 3 other songs, newer songs, that they played about dogs, and they're all about dead dogs. They have 3 songs about dead dogs. And my
oh,
friend, like
I
I
don't know how
said
to
to my
respond to that.
friend, I said to my friend, I was like, "They didn't play Clementine," and my friend was like, "Well, all the songs are about dead dogs, so you should probably be happy." Just okay.
Do they think they're like a bluegrass playing on like NPR on
Fair
the
enough.
weekends? Got to sing about
Fair
my
enough.
dead dog, and
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're really special, and I hope they come back.
Good. It sounds great.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, they're
definitely into the supporting a broader swath. I can't remember if it was during the recording or pre-recording, but avoiding the constant barrage of just straight white guys. And I say
uh-huh.
that as a straight white guy, but like
I
I've heard
mean,
what I've had to
well,
say
yeah.
enough.
Uh-huh.
And like I really try on my
Mm,
shows to make sure that they're not only inclusive places, but they're places where other voices are provided stages to speak and share their ideas artistically,
for sure.
intellectually, etc. It's just
Yeah.
I'm tired of the same old thing. I like to hear new
I mean,
ideas.
I think that's it too, and it's like it is really hard, and it's like um there's bands that you love, and it's tricky, when they're just straight white dudes. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Eh,
it's
Not inherently bad. Like I'm not dissing the fact that straight
no,
white dudes can
it's not
exist,
bad, but
right? Right.
yeah,
I
totally.
mean, I am
Totally.
one, and I think when I'm in a band, it could still be a good band, even if I'm
For
surrounded by
sure,
other
for
straight white
sure.
dudes.
Yeah, but I think it is like I think it makes it more interesting to have other people's perspectives and other people's views, and I think just like making different music, and
Yeah,
it's like not just like guitar rock. It's like that's so boring after a while. It's like let's keep it
yeah.
cool and like
I
different.
was
Like
in Florida, and we were all 4 dudes in a band called Colin Dead, and then we got a new singer, Eva Lestrange, and they're queer, trans, and they really changed, our lyrical content and changed the way, not way we presented ourselves. And they didn't really make it like super known. They just wanted people to kind of figure it out. But then when our band
totally.
broke up, because I moved here, they're now in a new band called Mace, Men Are Cunts Everywhere. I don't know, it might have other meanings, but that's the first meaning they told me that it was. And I'm putting out the record with this other band that's fronted by a trans a singer called Trash Diva from Baltimore. And I had a point to this. And the point is that when I was talking to Eva, they told me how dramatically different it was to be in a band with other people that were not just straight dudes, like being with other
Mhm.
queer people, being with other femmes,
Totally.
just that it's a totally different way of interacting, and that it just put them in a different situation of seeing and things. And I'm like, I get that. Even me just being in bands with people that are like 15 years younger than me, when I'm used to being in bands with people mostly my age, forces me to
Totally.
really like rethink things. So I get that. Like for them, like this was their first time being in a band where it was within that demographic sphere. And I respected that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So
Yeah, and there's actually another artist, that I saw this artist in Canada. I worked with them, on a short campaign, in the US, and it was this Canadian artist, Kim Mortal, and Kim Mortal is like a hip hop artist that she just or sorry, they just call it like it is, and it's really cool. Like they made up they wanted like the audience wanted them to play another song, and they played this crazy show in it was just like a it was a like a strip club or something, bar or something in Canada, and um, it was outdoors, it was very strange, but they wanted them to play another song, and they were like, "I know," and they came up with the song, and it was, like, on, like, a toy piano, and they were just like, AC, AB, FTP. They were like, "Everybody knows the words!" And they just, like, made up a song on the spot, and it was pretty special, like,
That's
they're
fucking
cool.
brilliant.
They're
I
they're
love
really
that.
cool.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
So,
totally.
like, I have to imagine, like, I know you're in California and you're meeting me,
Mhm,
like, after you would have gotten off of traditional office hours. It's like
mhm,
9 o'clock at night where I am.
mhm.
Do you work 7 days a week? Like, how do you manage? Like, because I know myself, I get text messages, I get emails, I get Instagram messages, whether it's a record I'm putting out, a show I'm
Yeah,
putting together, a tour
yeah,
I'm
totally,
booking. Like, it
totally.
is really hard for me to manage my time.
Mhm.
I have to imagine with your career, how do you manage that flow?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be 7 days a week, um, and now I kinda take the weekends more or less for myself, I try. I make myself available if something's really important. But I really do try and at least take a day and a half on the week. Like, I will sometimes do a little bit of work on Sundays to try and, like, get ready for the week so I don't come into, like, an inbox full of, hundreds of
Sure.
trash or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, a few years ago, like, Sunday nights, I would do so much work. I would get so much ready for the week. I would have everything ironed out, and I kind of scaled back from that because it's like I just felt a little bit burnt out from never really having time to myself or never really having a full weekend. Um, if something really important comes up, like I will, or if somebody's doing an interview or somebody needs something, like I will obviously do that. But I do try and at least take one weekend day and try and not look at my computer or my screens too much, or maybe check, my email 2 or 3 times a day versus, like, every hour or whatever it is,
Yeah.
which I'm sure just sounds like you don't have work-life balance, but
Yeah.
that to me is much more balanced than I used to be.
I don't think it's ever taken me very long to respond to one of your emails.
No,
So,
totally,
and
totally.
so I have the same situation, and I have my personal email, I have my
Yeah,
label
like, I
email, I
definitely
have my work email for my actual job. It's like
mhm,
I am constantly ting, 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 checking things. So
yeah.
I'm assuming you don't give anyone your phone number that are the people you're like, we have not exchanged numbers. I've not texted you. Because once that happens, and I feel like you're just doomed to like get a barrage of stuff.
People text me, and I try and not do texts unless it's, like, urgent, and I do try and set it a rule from the beginning of a campaign. I'm like, "Please don't text me." I'm like once people start texting me, I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Please don't text me unless it's really urgent. Like, if you can email me, I'll get to it. I swear I'll get to it, in this business day." I have one client that I let text me just because I've worked with them for so long and it doesn't matter. That person can text me because I've worked with them
Yeah.
since like 2006, and they're allowed. Um, but otherwise, I really like that's like my one exception to that rule. Otherwise, everyone, I'm like, please just email because, like, like especially younger bands, like, and it
Yep.
goes back to that instant gratification thing where it's like I don't think younger people email as much as they're on their
Yes.
phones a lot more. They're on their phones a lot more. So, those are kind of the people where I kind of need to set boundaries in the beginning where I'm like, just don't and then they start group text with the
Yep.
band. I'm like, "No, this is even worse. Like, no, don't
Yes.
do that. I don't need like, I don't even have all these 4 other people's information, and they're all coming
Yep.
at me." I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, just
It's
no."
it, I definitely find that most people I work with, most of the bands I work with prefer using Instagram, which is fine. If it's a group chat, I can search for it, but it's so
I
hard to
can't.
keep track of messages in
Well,
Instagram. So hard to keep track of.
Also, I just for me, it's like I need everything in one place. I
Yep.
need to just be able to go back and like where I need to
Yeah.
find something. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you told me you're playing a show. I don't know what
Yep.
it is because you messaged me on Instagram. I'm like, what is
Yep.
that? That's not
It's
real
hard.
life.
It's hard.
It's
I will
fake.
walk into a show that I'm promoting and I'll check my phone. I'll see that it's the band's like, hey, can you help us with a show in 3 months? I'm like, can you email me here because I can't
Totally.
mark this as unread and see it. And I've already seen it and I don't have time to respond to you right now.
Yeah, no, I'm always
Because
like,
I'm walking into a show in
that.
the next 10 hours, I'm going to have 15 more messages come in and you're going to be pushed to the bottom. I don't tell them all that. I just say, please email me the information here because
Yeah, like when
otherwise I
that
can't help you.
happens, when that happens, like I don't know if this is passive aggressive or not, but I'll like screenshot a picture of the message and I'll email it to myself and then I'll email them back and I'll be like, "Oh, you wanted to do this," and be like, "Can we communicate here?" And be like, because I can't. Like sometimes I won't even reply to the Instagram message. I'll screenshot to myself and be like, "Regarding your show, you know, it's
What
like
I
just like
always, people give
aggressive,
out my
but
number sometimes. Like there are people I've known and they'll give my number out to another band. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, please don't do that. Because I don't even like getting phone calls. Like
yeah,
Des,
no,
who does
totally,
all the sound for me, I had to teach him that when he wants to call me, he has to send me a phone with a smiley face so I know it's not bad news. Because no one calls me
yeah,
with my wife and my kids unless it's bad news. Like when I managed a call center, everyone's bad news. I managed retail, is always bad news. So it's,
yeah,
as a teacher, oh, there's a phone
yeah,
call for you, the front office. I'm like, that's never good. Like, I'm sorry, I get anxiety. I don't want, unless I
yeah,
talk to
no,
you on a regular
totally,
basis on the phone, I don't want to get a phone call from you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
too much. It's
Yeah.
too
Don't
much.
give
Like,
out my number.
I mean, mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's too
Yeah.
much. It's not for me.
People's like, oh, I left my such and such at a venue. Can I get the number for the owner? I was like, I'll ask them. I don't give out numbers
Yeah, no, totally.
without permission ever.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, all right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's been a little bit over an hour.
Mm,
I mean, you have been an absolute pleasure to talk with, a pleasure to
yeah,
work with.
fun. Hey,
Um,
it's been really
I feel
fun.
like I could talk to you even longer and learn more and more from you. You should
Yeah.
you should start up a class where you teach people how to do PR. You ever thought about that?
Oh,
No, you're like, no. I was like, sorry, it's the teacher of me thinking of how to share your knowledge.
I mean, yeah, no, totally. My friend teaches a music business class at Cal Poly, and I like he had a bunch of people come in, and I spoke one class. That was fun, but that was enough.
Yeah, it hasn't. You're like, not doing that. I wish I
Yeah.
had majored in something like that. I even did like newspaper in high school, but everyone, it's hard enough when you already want to be a musician. The idea that like, oh, and then you're like going to go to school for something even equally as impractical and hard to break into.
Yeah,
The
totally.
world
Yeah.
looks down upon you when you do anything other than the most practical. Oh, there's going to be a computer science. There'll be a job. That's perfect.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Such a pain in the ass. I should have. Yeah.
Sure is.
I let my kids do whatever they want. I'm like, be what you want to be. Do
Yeah.
what you want to do. I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
I love you forever. Just go
I
out
mean, it's
and
like
swing for the
that, like,
fences.
yeah, it's like, odds are you're not gonna totally do something within your degree anyway. So it's like, or it'll
I
be
didn't even
related.
graduate till I was 32, so I shouldn't be talking as if I chose to like be an accountant. I literally got a degree in what I wanted to get a degree in. It was just a matter of like, there was just
Yeah,
that
totally.
aura of like I'm listening to your story from the very beginning. I'm like, look at you going out there breaking into radio and breaking into all this and like this is sort of stuff that they tell you can't happen. Like it only happens to, like so many people. Oh, there's only so many music journalists out there. There's only so many people that do this. What makes you think you're special? What made you think you were
Mhm.
special? I mean, you are special, obviously. Sorry.
No, I mean, it was hard. Like, it was always just like, yeah,
It sounds
just
like
like
you worked your ass off. So
well, that's the thing is like, in my like everyone, I'm like I lived in New York in my 20s when I was, you know, poor and everyone
yeah,
else was poor. Nobody had any money to do anything. And so, all we did was work. Like,
yeah,
and I feel like, it was a lot like I definitely surrounded myself with a lot of people that were either, in the music industry or in bands, and everyone kind of wanted to make it in some capacity. So it's like we were all very motivated, and then we all just like got our, $5 pitcher of beer and pizza and that was it, you know?
And you went back to your like apartment on the Lower East Side somewhere and said, all right, this is about as big as my old closet in my
Yeah.
house that I lived with my parents, but I'm going to go ahead and suck it up.
No, totally, totally. And, you know, and I think that, yeah, there were just a lot of people that I was really surrounded with that were just like very, very motivated and very much like wanted to do things and, you know, wanted to be successful in music in, you know, whatever capacity they were doing it. So I feel like it was a really positive time, you know, but I do feel like we all just worked. Like, and that was the thing in New York that really, when I moved to LA, it was hard for me to understand is like, you know, like when I worked in New York, it was like if you had a show at 9 o'clock, you wouldn't go home. You would stay in the office and do work, or you would, you know, get a sandwich at the deli or whatever and come back and do work until 8 o'clock. And then you would take the train to the show and then you'd be out until midnight or 1 a.m. And then you would go take the train home and you would start your day the next day at, you know, 7, you know, it's like, and then when I was here, I was like, "Oh, we have a show at 9 o'clock. It's 5:30," and I was like, "So what do we do?" And everyone's like, "I'm going home." And I was like, What?"
What are you going home? Which one we be working until we go to the
Yeah.
show?
Yeah, I was like very confused by that mentality of like, no, you're not all working. Your whole office is not working together, and like, you know,
Yeah.
it was like, "We'll see you there," and you're just like, "Okay,
How
sure."
odd.
Yeah, it felt very strange to me when I first got here, and I was like, "Huh, okay." It definitely took me some time to adapt to that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
I've lived around enough that cultural changes can be pretty dramatic. It can take you
yeah, I mean,
time, both
like,
in
you know, like
workplaces and in communities.
yeah, I mean, like I'm from the East Coast, you know,
Yeah.
Philly. I lived in New York. I lived in DC. So it's like, you know, the West Coast was definitely a challenge for me in the
Yeah.
beginning of like figuring that out and just, you know, I did it.
I remember one of my first forays west, I was like in Oregon for a wedding and I went to like a bar and I was told I was being too loud and talking too fast. I'm like,
Oh,
it's like
God.
I was like, you're ruining the mellow. I was like, oh,
Wow. Wow.
oh.
Right? Yeah.
I forget what town I was in, and like everybody seemed like they were walking around in pajamas. Like, how you doing today? Mellow. I was like, oh,
Yeah, no, totally.
we are not on the same vibe at all.
It's hard. It's really hard.
So,
Yeah.
and then
But
it's just that moment, it's like it's fine. And I'm a lot. I'm a lot. I'm a guy that walks on the left side of this escalator, gets annoyed that you're standing on the left side. You stand to the right. Everyone should
that's
walk up. I don't understand people that don't like walk up the left side.
so annoying. So
You
annoying.
understand what I'm talking about?
I do. I do. And it bothers me so much. I'm just like,
So
that one
much.
person.
Yeah. I
Just like,
was like, what are you doing? Get to the right. The left lane is
yeah.
for passing on the escalator.
Mhm,
Everyone knows
mhm,
this.
yeah, totally. It's wild.
It's that
Not
whole
everybody here. Oof.
no, it's that
Rough.
whole Northeast thing. It's where we yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally. But yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay, well, thank you again. I appreciate
Yeah,
all
me
that you've
too.
done.
It's great.
I
Yeah. Alright. Sounds
thank you
great.
everyone for out there listening. Thank you, Caroline,
Okay.
for being a fabulous guest. All their
Okay.
info will be on there. So if you want to aspire to have Caroline work for
Woo.
you and make your dreams come true like a Disney warrior that they are.
Oh
I don't
god.
know where that came from. I
Hi. Wait.
apologize.
No,
That
that's
made
alright.
no sense whatsoever. In any
Get it?
case, reach out to Caroline, and Caroline will either help you or if they don't help you, then you know that they didn't like your music because they don't work with people that don't like music. And that means you need to go home and give up your dreams.
Sorry. Whoops.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.